Did you ever wonder how the Vietnam War actually started? It's a story that stretches back to World War II. When the dust of the global conflict settled, Vietnam found itself yearning for independence from French colonial rule. This desire ignited the First Indochina War, a fierce struggle that would lay the groundwork for the later conflict that we know as the Vietnam War. So it was the seeds sown during World War II that would later sprout into the Vietnam War. Now, you might be asking, why did the US get involved? The answer? Dwight Eisenhower's domino theory. This theory proposed that if one country in a region succumbed to communism, the surrounding countries would inevitably follow. This domino effect, as it was called, significantly shaped US policy towards Vietnam. The fear of a communist takeover spreading throughout Southeast Asia was palpable. The domino theory was a key reason the US didn't want to lose Vietnam to communism, and thus it plunged into the war. The US didn't initially commit to a full-scale war. It started small. At first, the US sent only advisors and support to South Vietnam. The aim was to bolster the South against the North's aggression, without direct American military involvement. But the winds of war shifted following the Gulf of Tonkin incident. This event escalated US involvement, transforming it from a supporting role to a primary combatant. It was a gradual slide into war, starting with a whisper before becoming a roar. Once committed, the US launched one of the most intense aerial bombardments in history. Enter Operation Rolling Thunder, an aggressive campaign that employed B-52 bombers to decimate North Vietnam and the Viet Cong. This was not a mere show of power, but a calculated attempt to cripple the enemy's ability to fight. These flying fortresses were relentless, casting ominous shadows before releasing their deadly payloads. The skies of Vietnam rained fire for years, a testament to the ferocity of the war. War is brutal, and the Vietnam War was no exception. War crimes were a tragic reality. Both sides committed appalling acts. The My Lai massacre saw American soldiers kill hundreds of unarmed civilians. On the other side, during the Hue massacre, the Viet Cong executed thousands of people they suspected of collaborating with enemy forces. These atrocities remind us of the dark side of war, a side we should strive never to repeat. One of the most infamous aspects of the Vietnam War was the use of Agent Orange. This toxic defoliant deployed by the US military was a weapon of war unlike any other. It was sprayed over the jungles of Vietnam, intending to strip the enemy of their cover. However, the effects were more far-reaching. Both the Vietnamese people and US veterans suffered devastating health consequences from exposure to this deadly chemical. Agent Orange left a toxic legacy that still lingers today, a stark reminder of the war's long-lasting impact. The strain on the US military during the Vietnam War was immense. With over 500,000 US troops deployed at the war's peak, the draft pulled many young men from their everyday lives. This sudden change played a pivotal role in shaping public opinion, with sentiments of discontent and protest echoing throughout the nation. The high troop numbers, coupled with the draft, created a ripple effect that reached far beyond the battlefield, impacting morale and stirring widespread controversy. The Vietnam War put an unprecedented strain on the US military and the nation as a whole. The tension and discontent among US soldiers in Vietnam sometimes took a deadly turn. This manifested in the grim phenomenon known as fragging, a term derived from fragmentation grenades. Soldiers, full of resentment or fear, would resort to murdering their commanding officers using these grenades or other means. It was a shocking act of mutiny that underscored the deep-seated frustrations and divisions within the ranks of the US military. Fragging was a disturbing symptom of the deep divisions and frustrations within the US military during the war. The Vietnam War was not only fought in Vietnam, its impact was global. Indeed, the conflict spilled over, igniting a wave of protests and societal changes across the globe. In the United States, the war sparked a vibrant anti-war movement, leading to unprecedented civil unrest and a major shift in public opinion. From Paris to Tokyo, the war stirred up fierce debates about peace, freedom, and democracy. The Vietnam War was more than a conflict in Southeast Asia. It was a global event that changed the course of history. As the US began to withdraw from Vietnam, they turned to a policy of Vietnamization. This was a strategic move designed to gradually shift the burden of war onto South Vietnam, enabling American troops to pull out. Vietnamization involved equipping, training, and expanding South Vietnamese forces while reducing U.S. combat troops. However, this policy proved challenging as South Vietnam struggled to shoulder this burden. Vietnamization marked the final chapter of the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, but the war's legacy continues to reverberate today. The Vietnam War was a complex and devastating conflict with far-reaching impacts. Its roots stemmed from World War II, shaped by Dwight's Dominoes, and escalated through self-imposed limitations. The aggressive aerial assault, the war crimes, and that awful Agent Orange paint a gruesome picture. The number of tense troops, the fragging incidents, and the fight that extended far beyond Vietnam's borders all add to its complexity. Finally, Vietnamization marked the end. These 10 points offer a glimpse into the many facets of the Vietnam War, a war that defined a generation and changed the world.